The Velkari had made a fatal miscalculation. Ambassador Theron stood on the bridge of the luminous dawn, watching the blue-green planet rotate peacefully below. His translator clicked nervously against his chest plate as he reviewed the intelligence reports one final time. Earth. Category 12. Death World. Quarantined for 847 standard cycles, home to a species so volatile, so impossibly resilient, that the Galactic Council had deemed them too dangerous for contact. But the Velkari Empire needed soldiers. The Xinthian horde had torn through the outer colonies like plasma through tissue, and conventional forces were failing. Theron's superiors had been clear: recruit the humans or watch the Empire fall. The distress signal went out on all frequencies, a carefully crafted message of desperation and alliance. Within 6 standard hours, primitive radio waves crackled back with a single word that made Theron's blood run cold with anticipation. Coming. Captain Sarah Chen had been drinking coffee in the observation deck of Lunar Station Alpha when the broadcast interrupted every channel. An alien species, actual aliens, requesting military aid against an extinction-level threat. The UN Security Council had convened within minutes. The debates lasted 3 hours. Humanity's answer was unanimous. They always did love a good fight. The first human ships arrived at the Velkari staging ground within 2 weeks. Their vessels cobbled together from mining craft and retrofitted colony haulers. Theron watched in barely concealed horror as the fleet materialized from FTL. The ships were asymmetrical, inefficient, leaking trace radiation. By galactic standards, they were engineering disasters. By human standards, they worked. General Marcus Webb stepped onto the luminous dawn wearing combat fatigues and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He was old by human standards, maybe 60 cycles, with silver hair and scars that spoke of countless battles. Theron's database indicated humans of this age should be in decline. Webb moved like a predator. Ambassador, Webb said, extending his hand in the human gesture of greeting. We brought 20,000 ground troops, 46 ships, and enough ordnance to crack a small moon. Where do you need us? Theron's translator struggled with the casual confidence in Webb's voice. The general spoke of moon-cracking weapons the way one might discuss weather. The Xinthian horde has taken the Kelmar system, Theron explained, pulling up the tactical display. 17 planets. 4 billion Velkari citizens. Our projections show complete conquest within— Save it, Webb interrupted, studying the hologram. How many Xinthians? Estimates suggest 12 million combat units. They reproduce rapidly, fight without fear, and— Good, Webb said simply. My people get bored with easy fights. The Battle of Kelmar Prime lasted 6 days. The Xinthians had evolved on a world with 1.8 standard gravity, their exoskeletons capable of withstanding pressures that would pulp most species. They attacked in waves, overwhelming through sheer numbers and savage ferocity. The Velkari had lost 8 fleets trying to break their advance. The humans deployed different tactics. On the second day, they dropped directly onto the planet's surface despite the active air defense network. 50% casualties were deemed acceptable losses. The survivors fought through blizzards, toxic atmosphere, and hostile terrain. Conditions that reminded them of places called Stalingrad, Chosin, and Helmand. The Xinthians learned that humans didn't just survive death worlds. They thrived in them. Corporal James Rodriguez found himself pinned in a collapsed bunker, his squad decimated, his leg shattered. 3 Xinthian warriors advanced on his position, their mandibles clicking in triumph. Rodriguez triggered the mining charges he'd strapped to his chest, buying his platoon 3 critical minutes. He survived. Barely. The Xinthians had never encountered a species that weaponized its own mortality. By day 4, Ambassador Theron was receiving reports that contradicted everything he understood about warfare. Human soldiers fought beyond exhaustion, beyond injury, beyond rationality. A private named Chen had continued firing her weapon with a severed arm. A pilot called Joker had flown combat missions for 18 hours straight, subsisting on stimulants and something called spite. They sang while they fought. Old battle hymns from their tribal past, crude songs about violence and defiance. The Xinthians' pheromone-based communication system couldn't comprehend it. Psychological warfare through melody. On day 5, General Webb personally led an assault on the Horde's central hive. The operation was tactically insane. 500 humans against 2 million Xinthians in close-quarters combat. Webb returned with 300 survivors and the Horde commander's head. The Xinthian retreat began on day 6. For the first time in their species' history, they fled. Humanity's reputation spread through the galactic networks faster than light itself. The Deathworlders had awakened, and they were everything the quarantine warnings had promised. Worse, they were willing to fight for others. Within a standard month, 17 species requested human military intervention. The Velkari watched in growing alarm as humanity negotiated treaties, established forward bases, and began integrating themselves into galactic civilization. They came not as conquerors but as allies, bringing with them their terrible weapons and their incomprehensible courage. Ambassador Theron met with General Webb one final time before the human fleet departed. "You saved our empire," Theron said carefully. "But I must ask why. You owed us nothing. Your world was quarantined, isolated. Why risk so much for strangers?" Webb looked at the ambassador with those calculating predator's eyes and smiled. "Because someone sent out a distress signal," he said simply. "And where I come from, when someone calls for help, you answer. Doesn't matter if they're human or not. That's just what decent people do." Theron watched the human fleet jump to FTL, their mismatched vessels disappearing into the void. The Galactic Council had released the Deathworlders out of desperation. They had no idea what they'd truly unleashed upon the galaxy. Humanity had arrived, and they'd brought their impossible idealism with them.